part of why I stayed here and continued to, year after year, reinvest in another year of keeping my family here was because it's a really, you can say it's a great place to raise kids, but it really is. It's easy. There's no metal detectors at school. They can walk to and from, they can ride their bikes to and from, they can wander about, no different than I did 30 years ago. The concern of violence and that sort of thing doesn't really even crop up. They get to know all the other peers their age, whether they hang out with them or not, which changes sort of a dynamic that you don't have in larger places where it becomes too cliquey or there's problems with the word gang in Golden. Just, you know, you laugh thinking about it. But if you, I have siblings in Calgary, and you know, they're trying to figure out where they can send their kids because of the elementary school problem with violence. I'm like, that doesn't exist here. It's so easy to have other community people, partners, and associations involved with your family. So when it says it takes a community to raise a kid, I don't know if that's true, but it sure makes it easier. And so we have that here. Like, there are so many surrogate aunts and uncles for my kids around that it's hard for them to get in trouble or get away with anything as well, because there's always somebody that knows them that will look after them. So parenting here in that way, it's so much more comforting than the thought of living in an apartment in southwest, east, or north Van, and how they're going to get where they're going. Yeah, it's different here. Part of what we always have balanced out is trying to figure out what they're missing by not, the opportunities of a big drama club or a choir or a advanced sports teams or whatnot. You get different versions of that here. It might not be the same massive spread you'd find in the city, but they're coming out with what I'll consider a humanity and a social ability that you don't get when you're sheltered and shuttled, which is much of what city living tends to be. You're going from one cluster of four walls to a constructed activity somewhere else. Here, the socialization is more of a community socialization, and so their ability to, like when I travel with my kids, they're very adaptable in other places. They're not frightened, and they're interested, and they have an affability with people from other places that isn't based on a rigid fear, because that's not part of what happens here. So you notice it too, and when people will move here from the city sometimes with their kids in the first little while, they're scared. They're scared and protective until they, 3 years later, they happily don't know where their kid is instead of terrified.